and welcome to the third day of the 12 Cookies of Christmas. I'm your host, Lucille Orr-D'oeuvre, and today we're going to be making the most traditional of Christmas cookies, the gingerbread. Known by many different names in many different places. It is known for many different uses. You can build decorative little houses. You can decorate your Christmas tree with them. You can have a fun time cutting out all the shapes with your family and friends. And the best part about them is eating this peppery, gingery, spicy little crunchy biscuit cookie. The gingerbread cookie dates way back. We have records of it appearing in the court of Elizabeth I of England. That's nearly 500 years ago, when she had some made to look in the likeness of some of her favorite guests, just to impress them. Now, back then, in England, ingredients like ginger and cloves and cinnamon, they were very difficult to come by and very expensive, so a cookie like this in the court of Queen Elizabeth I must have been a grand gesture. To start out with, you're going to need 4 cups of all-purpose flour, 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of salt, 5 teaspoons of ground ginger. Now this is because the namesake, gingerbread. You really must let the ginger come through. All the spices are really what the gingerbread is dependent upon for its delicious, lovely flavor. So do not skimp. The spices must be poured in almost as much as you pour your love into that dough. You'll need 2 teaspoons of ground cloves, 1½ tablespoons of ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, or freshly grated if you're lucky enough to have that on hand, 1 teaspoon of ground black pepper. Yes, that's it, I said black pepper in a sweet cookie. Now you know, in Germany, the gingerbread is known as the Pfeffernuss, which really means the pepper nut. So again, with the spice in the name, it is the namesake. Make sure you let it shine through. 11 tablespoons of butter, softened to room temperature. 2/3 of a cup of packed brown sugar, 3 large eggs, and 2/3 of a cup of unsulfured molasses. Make sure it is the unsulfured kind, though it really doesn't matter if you use light or dark or blackstrap. Just so long as it is unsulfured, it'll come out magnificently. Now to get down to work. You'll mix the flour, the baking soda, the salt, and the spices into a medium bowl and set it aside. Then in a large bowl, you'll need to cream the butter and sugar together, either with a pastry cutter or with a kitchen mixer, until it is creamy and fluffy. Then mix in the eggs one at a time, and then it is time to be patient and pour in the molasses. And in winter it runs slower because it is cold. But patience. You'll get there, and it is well worth it. Then take the flour mixture and incorporate it in two stages for the dough to form together, and make sure it is not tacky once it all comes together. If your dough is still too tacky, add a little bit of flour at a time until it is no longer too tacky to handle. Then you'll split it in two and wrap it in kitchen wrap and put it in the refrigerator for at least 1 hour. Once the dough has chilled, you'll preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and line a baking sheet with parchment paper. Then roll out the dough on a lightly floured surface to about 1/8 of an inch thickness. And then it is time to have fun. You can use your cookie cutters, you can use a knife and cut out whatever shapes you wish. You can even build your own shapes by assembling little pieces together and building your own cookie. This is the most fun, most creative part. Be sure you let your friends and family in on this and share it together. Once the cookies are shaped and formed, place them on the baking sheets and put them back in the refrigerator for just a few minutes, 15 or so, because your hot little hands have warmed up that dough, and it is not the right temperature to start baking at. You do not want overdone gingerbread. Once you've refrigerated them, put them in the oven at 350 for about 8 to 10 minutes for an average-sized 4-inch gingerbread person cookie. The smaller ones are going to take less time. Larger cookies, such as the walls and roofs for gingerbread houses, will take a bit longer. You'll just have to keep an eye on them to make sure they bake to the right time. Once they've baked, cool them on a wire rack for 5 to 10 minutes, and then they're all ready, either for you to gobble down, as I like to do, or to decorate them with icing and candies and make them bright and festive and fun. It depends on what you prefer. If you like to admire your gingerbread, if you like to play with your gingerbread people, decorating is probably the route you wish to go. But if you're baking these cookies solely for delicious consumption, gobble them down before everybody else does. Thank you again for joining me on our 3rd edition of the 12 Cookies of Christmas. Be sure to join me again tomorrow for another scrumptious snack. Until then, I'm your host, Lucille Orr-D'oeuvre. Bye-bye.